I remember once lecturing in a hall back in the early 70s. At that time, most of my audiences were very young, and they tended to wear white, and they tended to smile a lot and wear flowers. And I, at the time, wore beads and had a long beard. And I recall that in the front row of my audience, there was one woman who was about 70, and she had on a hat with little cherries and strawberries and things like that on it, false ones. And she was wearing black Oxfords and a print dress, and she had a black patent leather bag. And I looked at her, and I couldn't figure out what she was doing in the audience because she was so dissimilar from all the rest of the audience. Our audiences were like a gathering of explorers clubs where we'd come together and we would just share our experiences. So I started to describe some of my experiences, some of which were pretty far out. And I looked at her, and she was nodding with understanding. And I couldn't believe that she could understand what I was talking about. I was describing experiences that I'd had after using psychedelic chemicals, and the experiences that were very, very precious and far out. So I would try a little further out experience, and I'd look over at her, and there she was nodding away. And I began to think maybe she had a problem with her neck that led her to nod, that maybe it had nothing to do whatsoever with what I was saying. And I kept watching her and getting more and more fascinated and getting more and more outrageous in what I was saying, and she kept nodding and nodding. At the end of the lecture, I couldn't resist. I just kind of smiled to her so intensely that she just had to come up and speak to me. And she came up and she said, "Thank you so much. That makes perfect sense. That's just the way I understand the universe to be." And I said, "How do you know? I mean, what have you done in your life that has brought you into those kinds of experiences?" And she leaned forward very conspiratorially and she said, "I crochet."
Come on! Give it to me!